Hold on a second. I'm stopping my video. Good afternoon, folks. Thank you for joining us. I just wanted to let you know we'll be starting in about 2 minutes. So happy to have you all with us today. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's first ever virtual Lunch and Learn. I'm here with your U.S. Coast Guard Academy Alumni Association. My name is Tara King-Clark, and I am the Vice President of Communications and Marketing here. And I'll be acting as moderator today and one of the presenters. So to get us started, I wanted to just go over a little bit the rules of the road, how this will work. You are on mute by default. So only our panelists will be speaking during the session. And if we do ask someone to speak for any reason, we will be able to unmute your microphone. You can use the chat feature. You should see it visible if you're on your computer. If you have any questions, we'll be taking questions at the end, but feel free to type them in as we go along and we'll review them. But you can use that chat feature to type in your questions and we'll be taking those at the end of the presentation. Just for your knowledge, the forum is being recorded. So we will share the link when we're all done here, and you can watch it later or share it with a classmate or friend. One other point of something you should know, if you do run into technical difficulties and you're having a hard time, you can email us at editor@cgaalumni.org and someone will be there to help you. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our president, Captain Andrea Marcio. Hold on, so Andrea, you're actually on mute. I'm trying to unmute you, but there you go.
Oh, first technical difficulty overcome. So thanks for letting me warm up into that welcome. So am I good now? Thumbs up? Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Run two. I really want to thank you all for being here and making time out of your very busy schedules. Let me echo Tara's words of welcome and also our hope that you and your families are doing well in this challenging time. I'm going to start today's session by sharing what our priorities are and how we are adapting, like many others, adapting our operations during this pandemic. Next, Tara will share some points of joy in our year of thanks. Then our Vice President of Development, Bob McKenna, will share our progress on our capital projects and how they're transforming the Academy even during these challenging times. Then I will share some highlights of our engagement strategy. Then we'll do your questions and answers. So our association does remain strong and vibrant, and we've rapidly adapted through this crisis to continue to serve our membership, support the Academy, and sustain the strength of the association. As I peruse social media, I'm inspired and amazed at the many members of our Coast Guard Academy community that are working on the front lines. And let me just highlight one. So Captain Retired Charlene Downey from the class of '93, she currently serves on our board of directors. She's the team lead for a volunteer community action partnership food bank with Team Rubicon in Garden Grove, California, and helping to feed hundreds of seniors. So just one example. Way to go, Charlene. Our priorities here remain that our priorities that we remain focused on are taking care of the team here at the association, providing support for some critical needs of the Corps of Cadets and the Academy, staying connected to our members and helping you all stay connected to the Academy and to each other, and remaining fiscally sustainable as a charitable organization. So our team here has been working remotely since mid-March, although if you look at my background and Bob's, you'll see we're both in the office. We decided not to fight with our other competing internet people at our houses. It always gives us some technical difficulties. So a few of us are coming into the Alumni Center for basic business operations. We are connecting several times each week as a team, and I'm happy to report that everyone here is remaining pretty positive and productive. We've also had weekly calls with the class of 2020 officers and their class advisor, Lieutenant Commander Dana Doherty. She's from the class of 09. It's not surprising to both see and hear the optimism and resiliency of these cadets. You can see it in their faces and voices during our discussions. We've been talking through how the association can best support the class now and in the future when they hope to hold a class gathering, potentially at this homecoming or another waypoint along their ensign track line. We have decided to support the class in two direct ways. First, we're gifting each soon-to-be ensign their officer cover and hard shoulder boards that they will wear on their service dress whites on the morning of May 20th. The superintendent made the decision to get the Commandant's Cadets Division on a search and rescue mission to find and ship the whites. Some cadets are beginning to return in small groups this week to pack out their rooms and get their ensign uniform. So it was nice to see a couple of them walking around here. We also wrapped up a do not open until May 20th envelope with several of the traditional items they would have received at dining in and commencement, like the class of 63, welcome to the cutting edge knife, and a letter and coin from their link in the chain class, the class of 70, along with a few other surprises. Next, we are asking that all alums to send in a written or video message that answers the question, what one sentence advice or inspiration would you have given your younger self upon your commencement from the Academy? Our hope is that we'll compile these thoughts into the most meaningful commencement speech every class has ever experienced, although receiving it a little bit differently. As an added bonus to the class, when we created our All Present campaign kickoff video, it was filmed in the summer of 2016, their swab summer. So we have some amazing footage of the class during their forming stages with all their new haircuts and new uniforms. Lastly, for me, we are having weekly communication with our investment advisors at Goldman Sachs and can report that because of wise investment decisions by our board of directors to diversify our portfolio over the past several years, our assets were partially cushioned from recent shocks in the stock market. As of this morning, our endowment was down about 8.5% compared to double-digit losses we've seen in several of our benchmarks. So good news relatively, and we'll continue to monitor that and share the progress of what our portfolio performance is. So we'd also like to share a few more bright spots with you. So let me turn this over to Tara for some brief remarks.
Thanks, Andrea. As I mentioned earlier, I am happy to be on the call with all of you today and excited to share some really good news with you from all of our impact that we've had over the last year. So as you can see on the screen here, back in 2019, just last year, which feels like forever ago, we had some incredible impact at the Academy. And in fact, it was $4.7 million worth, which is a record for the Alumni Association. And that's all thanks to you, all of you who support us and give of your time and talent and your dollars. So I did want to just share one stat that I think is just stunning, is that we have more than doubled our impact on the Academy over the last 10 years, growing from 1.5 million in support in 2009 to over 4.7 million last year. So, and the total over that 10-year span is actually $26 million. So in this year of thanks, as we wrapped up the All Present campaign last year and move into a new campaign, we just can't overstate how important it is to thank all of you. One of the other highlights, so the annual report is in the mail, so some of you may have received it. And hopefully, if not, you will be receiving it very soon. And so this spread is actually in that annual report, and it highlights a few of the areas, but the annual report itself goes into more depth. But I did want to highlight two of our efforts last year that saw a huge amount of support. One was our Support Our Shipmates. So as most of you know, last year we had the shutdown, and nearly 1,000 donors came together to raise $230,000 to support our shipmates during that time of need. And we also had great support for our Elite Athlete Fund, Excellence Fund, which supports those of our alums who have the capacity and the potential to pursue athletic competition at the professional or Olympic level. So I wanted to just give a quick shout out to those two separate efforts, in addition to all of the support that's given back to the Academy. Let's see, moving on. One of the other areas that we wanted to highlight in our annual report this year and be more intentional about it are our affiliates. One thing I should note, for those of you who are on your computers, I forgot to note that you can move the little thumbnail around of the video. So if it's covering some of the image in the background, feel free to move that around. You just have to touch that top bar and you can kind of move it. So if it's covering one of these beautiful logos, please feel free to move that. So we wanted to be intentional in our annual report about thanking and recognizing those groups that we work very closely with to advance different efforts and initiatives. In this case, Parents Association, which is one of our oldest affiliates. We've been supporting them since the 70s. They had some great success last year, fundraising for the Cadet Strength and Conditioning Center in support of their $1 million pledge. We also wanted to recognize the Eclipse Legacy Coalition, which recently sort of reinvigorated their efforts last year at an event in Washington, DC. And their aim is to increase diversity and inclusion in not only at the Academy, but in the Coast Guard. And last but not least, our Women's Leadership Initiative, which just completed their 8th year in existence. And they're doing a phenomenal job teeing up those issues that are critical to retaining women in the Coast Guard. So you can read more about all of the affiliates and their efforts in the annual report, but we did want to do a quick shout out here. Next, one thing that we did new this year that I think is really something that we'll continue to do in the future is actually quantify the impact of our many, many volunteers. And as you can see here, we just compiled last year's numbers and we had over 1,400 volunteers. And, we calculated the numbers from volunteers across the spectrum. So those of you who may be Academy admissions partners, who may help out with the Bear Club as an ambassador, perhaps you're served on the board, or you wrote an article for the Bulletin, or you're one of our class correspondents who, the Bulletin wouldn't be possible without your support. That number totaled 1,400, around 1,400 last year. And we calculated that to be about 39,000 hours. So again, the numbers are staggering. And when you look at a calculation that we came up with, it's over $1 million in support in people's time and talent. So, all of the affiliates that I previously mentioned are all volunteers, and we couldn't do what we do without all of you. I do want to call out in particular one volunteer who I know signed up. I'm not sure if he's on the call, but Ray Dimmick from the class of 68 comes into our office every week and has for the last 3 years or so. And he's just a bright spot in all of our days. He helps us out with database stuff. So I did want to call him out in particular if he's on the call, that we miss seeing your face, Ray. We can't wait to get back in the office. And last but not least, the annual report is an opportunity to thank our donors for all of their treasure that they've contributed, and to recognize those classes and their support, because again, we couldn't do what we do without the classes. So what you see here is our best in class by decade group, and the winner of this year's President's Trophy, which is the most generous class from last year, was the class of 1952. So kudos to 52, and again, thank you to all of our donors. You can view the online annual report at the link right there, so cjalumni.org/AR2019. And yeah, and if you have any questions about it, in the report itself, you'll see who to contact. So if something's not quite right or you have some questions, please reach out to us. Susan Kenyon is the person who can help you with that. So Again, I can't say thank you enough, and you'll be hearing more of this year of thanks from us in the future. And I'm going to pass it off to our Vice President of Development, Bob McKenna, who will give you some updates on those impressive projects. All right, Bob, you might have to unmute yourself. I'm having a hard time actually doing
Yeah, I was just hopefully coming through if I get a thumbs up. Yep, great. Yeah, thanks Tara and Andrea for teeing things up. It's certainly very interesting. As Andrea said, I had to come in today anytime after 10 o'clock in the morning. My two college students, one who's a cadet, actually a fourth class cadet, once they wake up and start hogging the internet for online classes, I can't get much done. So fortunate to be able to come in here and be around a couple of folks. And, you know, it's interesting to hear from my two kids, the difference that they feel. And my son, who's a cadet, definitely misses being around his classmates and misses being back here on campus. So it's comforting to know that that he's looking forward to getting back here and back on a regular schedule. And my food bill will certainly go down. But yeah, as Tara mentioned, I think the next slide has a great picture of Leamy, thanks to the classes of 67 and 70. This is actually not an artist rendering. This is the actual photo of what Leamy looks like today. Again, there's not a lot of people sitting in there, but the project really came out great. It completely opened up and brightened up the space. It's just great to be able to walk through there and to use it. The last few things that we are waiting for is the installation of the kitchen. We're working with the Academy to get the installation completed. Most of the kitchen equipment has actually been delivered, and we're working with a local installation company to finalize that. So hopefully when the core does come back, we'll have a fully operating student center with Starbucks coffee, cappuccino machines, and grab and go containers. It's going to be great. We know it's going to be a great addition to what the classes or to what the core is looking for. And the two class seals there for the rings are both the class of 67 and 70 are two primary supporters of the project. So it's a great nod to them and a great project. The next project, also something that we've been working on since we started the All Present campaign, the Emblem Tunnel Cadet Strength and Conditioning Center. We decided about 6 months to 8 months ago to name the Cadet Strength and Conditioning Center after Emblem Tunnell. Emblem was a enlisted man in the Coast Guard during World War II. African American, and was just a phenomenal hero. Was awarded the Silver Life-Saving Medal for pulling a shipmate out of the freezing waters of Canada during the middle of winter as they were doing an ammo onload, and also pulled another shipmate out of a compartment that was on fire and actually burned his hands. His story continued after the Coast Guard. Emblem was the first African American drafted by the New York Football Giants, and had a storied career. Was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and was actually the first African American in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Died at a relatively young age, unfortunately, without an immediate family, but we have been in touch with some of his extended family, and we're hoping to be able to have them come back when we do the dedication. You can see from the photos here that the demolition is well underway. This is the old racquetball courts, so all the walls have been completely demoed. And that space will be about an 8,000 square foot strength and conditioning center. And you can see from the artist rendering there in the top right what the space will ultimately look like. So we're well underway. The contractor that we do have has been phenomenal to deal with. They're very, very proactive with the COVID-19 restrictions to the point where they've actually on their own have hired a nurse that comes in each morning to make sure that all the workers that are coming in are healthy, taking temperatures and those types of things. We're adjusting work conditions and work schedules to make sure that social distancing can be maintained. We're working with the Academy in that regard as well. the state of Connecticut has deemed that construction is an essential business sector. So that was another reason why we wanted to go forward with this project. It met all the requirements with regards to local and state requirements, and again, practicing those social distancing and safe protocols on the job site. So far so good on that project. If we switch to the next slide, the Maritime Center of Excellence, we have decided to complete all of the design and preparation work for the project. We just completed the 90% design, which is a major step. We're waiting to get a new revised estimate from that design set, and then should get the 100% design document sometime in the early part of June. We have not, working with the Academy, we have decided not to move forward with the demolition and construction of the facility, given some of the significant financial uncertainties, as well as uncertainties within the construction industry, both locally and potentially nationally, concerns over supply chain issues and vendors being viable once the project started. We felt the best thing for us to do was to take a short pause, complete all the design work and all the contract work to be poised and ready, literally shovel ready at once COVID-19 is behind us and it makes sense to continue on the project. So they are the quick updates on those three major projects, working them as hard as we can in each of those different areas, and be standing by for any questions. And until then, I'll just turn it back over to Andrea.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate that update. Finally, I wanted to just emphasize how much your membership matters, right? Your membership in the Alumni Association allows us to fulfill our mission to support both the Academy and to serve our members. We've been exploring best practices and digging into our recent member survey data to enhance our programs, specifically by expanding some of our career services options, improving and better communicating our networking opportunities, and offering a mentor solution based on years of work by the Academy's Lloyd Institute for Leadership, which we're thrilled that they're housed right up on the third deck in this building. So it makes partnership and collaboration very easy. And like other organizations, we're trying to look to virtually to shift our programs to virtual formats, like what we're doing today. So thank you to almost 40 of you for joining us for our first virtual live seminar. So we hope to do more of these, with next week featuring the football coach, CC Grant. So hearing a little bit about the football program and where he might like to take that. So I wanted to spend a couple of minutes to give you a brief updates on some of our efforts in the Alumni Engagement Office. So some of you may have used the Service Academy Career Conference in the past. Some of you may be using it or considering using it currently, but we proudly report that the last virtual career conference in Jacksonville was a large success. And the plan right now is to do the Washington, D.C. Career Conference in a virtual format also. So they did some post-event data, and it showed that both the attendees' employers were both satisfied doing it virtual, although less than ideal, trying to do a job interview virtually, although that probably is becoming more normal in these trying times. So we're gonna continue to work and explore what those virtual options might be for those career conferences. We've also started a new feature in the bulletin called Track Lines. If you haven't received your April-May bulletin, it should be coming in the mail along with the annual report momentarily. And this will feature alums who've taken traditional career paths and non-traditional ones, and some of the decision-making decisions that had to be made to get them there. Next, we're going to look at how do we better expand and communicate our networking opportunities, including exploring regional champions, sort of like in a chapter-like construct to better communicate and plan events that might be in your area. We're also going to offer our WebEx or Zoom account to classes to help facilitate their class meetings as an additional way to connect. We've heard from a lot of you that you're reaching out to classmates and holding online meetings with family or friends or classmates or other different groups. So we know no one likes to get knocked off Zoom after 40 minutes, just when the conversation gets going. And for mentoring, based on the Loy IFL's work, we're exploring mentoring options to connect junior officers as cadets junior officers to cadets as mentors, especially now when cadets are feeling a little bit disconnected with things. I think there's an opportunity to surge that, and the Loy IFL team is working closely on that. And also junior members to senior folks as mentees. Our survey data this past year overwhelmingly told us that junior alums want access to more mentors and to better be able to leverage the Coast Guard and Coast Guard Academy network. So. And lastly, you heard from Tara how much we appreciate and need a volunteer force to help broaden and expand our efforts. So we'd like to highlight alums who are helping during the pandemic. You know, are you or do you know someone who's a hero during this pandemic? We'd like to highlight them in the bulletin and other communications, as well as trying to use our LinkedIn page to energize it and to get some meaningful content. So if you can help us in either one of those ways, we'd like you to reach out to us and share your thoughts and ideas. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Tara, who can help us moderate with some of the questions that you've posed.
Great, thanks Andrea, and thanks everybody for the questions. First one that we have here is about the appeal last night. Someone wrote in, I saw the appeal last night. How has that been received and what is your goal?
I unmuted if you want me to take that, Tara. Yep. Okay, great. Handoff is smooth as silk. Yeah, so we've already had a great response to the campaign. Some folks may have seen that there's a Giving Tuesday campaign going on to support COVID-19. We wanted to make something that was more personal to the Academy and more personal for all of us that graduated from here. No matter what your 4 years were like here at the Academy, walking across the stage, getting your commission and diploma and pinning on those ensign bars and putting on that combo cover for the first time was a special moment to celebrate as a class. Knowing that the SOUP had to make a very tough decision, we wanted to try and support that as best we could. So that's what the appeal is all about, for the Alumni Association to support that first set of shoulder boards and the officer combo cover. So we've had 50, nearly 50 people contribute already to $8,000 worth, and our goal is $50,000. So we're within less than 24 hours. We're already 20% there. Public math. Hopefully, I got that somewhere close. But yeah, so we're tracking along really well.
Great, thanks, Bob. We had a question about Cadet Strength and Conditioning Center. This one's also for Bob. Will that be opening in the fall? Will that be ready to go for the start of the fall semester?
Yeah, great question. And you know, as I indicated, we're working with the contractor to meet all of the local, state, federal guidelines and protocols for maintaining a safe workplace. So there may be some slowdowns as we're kind of juggling teams coming on board and working in a socially safe manner. But right now we are on track to have it open for the start of the fall semester. But with anything that could, we could see some hiccups. We do know that other sectors within the construction industry are seeing some supply chain disruptions. So that's a possibility, but we're working with our vendors and our primary construction manager to keep the project on track, which is where we're at right now. But of course that could change, but we're hopeful it does not.
Great. It looks like I don't see many more questions, but I did want to take a minute to encourage sort of the other piece of the 2020 campaign to support the class of 2020. We are looking for video submissions. So we received a lot of written submissions, but what we'd really love is to receive some video submissions as well. So if you haven't seen it yet or haven't visited the page, you can visit the page at cgalumni.org/support2020. And from there, you can get to a link to submit your one-line commencement speech. And I think to make the video really compelling, it would be great to have some video. And it doesn't take much. You really just kind of grab your phone, have what you're going to say and make sure you're well lit, and say your one line. So we can put up a couple of examples to that page so that folks can see that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be heartfelt. So I would just encourage folks to think about doing that again. Yeah, that's all I got. Andrea, did you have any final remarks, since looks like we're out of questions?
I do. Just thank you. Thanks for your interest in the association, and for reaching out through emails and leaving us phone messages, and really coming together to help us support the class of 2020. We don't know what the next couple weeks are, let alone the next couple months or years for this class, and how this might translate into their both connection to each other, to the academy, and to the association. So I think this needs to be we need a lot of hands who are looking after them, and looking after each other. We are stronger together. We know that. So, so thank you for taking a few minutes out of your time, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you want to connect with your class via one of our platforms, and not get kicked off after 40 minutes. So that's another service that we want to encourage you to provide. So until then, stay safe, stay strong, and stay connected. Take care, everyone.